Good morning, Jason. It is the president at the cabin. I almost feel like saying good evening, but it's actually 2 o'clock in the morning. You guessed it. I just took a long walk in the woods and it was beautiful, and I'll be going to bed pretty soon. I'll be in Toronto, Canada tomorrow. And I really want to get you ready for this report on the Gulf of America because as we sit here now in 2030, there have been really three remarkable accomplishments as a result of the Gulf of America taking on a new name and a new face. That happened, what was it, back in 2025? So, Jason, I want you to make a note of this, and you can report this to the UN. Um, Probably the General Assembly is going to have some interest, and for the most part, you could work through our ambassador. But just let them know this is coming directly from me, and you can actually take this as dictation per se. And I'll go ahead and sign it and sign off on it first thing tomorrow morning. But number one, the big news, of course, about the Gulf of America is the sequestration of carbon. Those wetlands and those blue carbon storages are absolutely remarkable. And we've gotten very, very active in the Gulf of America in finding that blue carbon. And it's very, very useful now. It's quite malleable, and we're using it now to capture carbon emissions. So, who would ever think by us becoming more active peacefully in the newly dawned Gulf of America, that those wetlands, that blue carbon would be so valuable to the United States in creating the science we need to intercept carbon emissions. And that subject's always been very controversial. And as far as I'm concerned, there's a degree of merit to the argument that carbon emissions could stymie the air quality at the very least, and at the very worst could contribute to the warming issue. But instead of making it sort of a collective global enterprise where, in a sense, we created a global monolith with this pretext for sort of an ideology, I wanted to really just bring in a very practical solution. And frankly, the Gulf of America, with its wetlands and its ecosystem and this very unique blue carbon, was a gift from God. And we're going to continue developing that and working with the blue carbon. And we'll make sure that our atmosphere is conducive to the goals of the United States and the peaceful efforts of all the continents on this planet for the next 100, 200 years. Number two is the Children's Sanctuary. Jason, I'm very, very excited about it. It's right on the Gulf of America, right on the coastline of Alabama. And this is a really special place for young people who are neglected, who have not qualified for orphanages, and in many cases who have chronic illnesses, and as we used to say, they've slipped between the cracks. And children are the wealth of the world, and they're our most vulnerable citizens or future citizens. So this is not state owned. It's endowed by private money, but it's supported by our government to the extent that our public service mission volunteers are there, and under proper supervision, these children are given a wholesome lifestyle, one that's protected from all the horrible things that could happen to a child who's not cared for in a loving family. And in many cases, they've been abandoned, abused, and in some cases, they simply have suffered an illness, and they need a place where they can be cared for without their parents incurring a huge financial bill. So our philanthropists have come together, and my administration has given them massive, massive incentives, including tax benefits and everything else. And frankly, just the prayers of our country, I think, has been the biggest incentive for these really, really extraordinary philanthropists to help us to create the sanctuary for our children. And it's right on the coast. And they have a beautiful outdoor lifestyle, which includes hiking, and I understand they do a lot of singing and dancing, including the blue light dance, which is so wonderful. And this is a really wholesome lifestyle. In fact, in many ways, Jason, it reminds me of those old portraits of Norman Rockwell, where we lived in sort of well, we never had an idyllic world, of course, but the word wholesome always comes to mind. They're eating good, healthy food and naturally grown fruits and vegetables right there at the sanctuary. And these children are just growing into very strong, um, well loved and well protected young people, and that's the way it should be. And by the way, in many cases, the parents are finding out that we have taken the lead in helping these young people, and they maybe as sort of as a result of the conviction of their own consciences, have appeared at the sanctuary, and they've been reunited with these children in some cases who were abandoned. So that's also wonderful, and that's right on the Gulf of America. And finally, are the satellites that we have on our naval ships right in the Gulf. I thought it was really important, Jason, to show the world we have nothing to hide. And we're very, very proud of our satellite program. And the satellites now are being launched right from the decks of these aircraft carriers. And it's quite a spectacle. So the whole world in real time is watching the satellites as they go up, and the main effort has been in harnessing space solar, sending it back by laser, and then pegging those thermal units to our US dollar. And we've created a confederation around that, or I should say a federation is becoming a confederation. And countries around the world can invest in this equity fund called the Space Adventure Fund. But it's all really propped up by these satellites. The satellites have made the big difference. They're on display in the Gulf of America. That's really a way of us window dressing a bit our noble effort and making it clear to the world that we're transparent, and we invite their participation and support. And of course, practically speaking, as the president, I like that anyways, because we could afford those satellites a lot of security by our naval ships, and that's a good thing. I'm always a little cautious about things like that. So it's threefold. Again, just to repeat, the blue carbon, and for that matter, a lot of wonderful rare minerals that we're finding in the basin of the Gulf of America. Number two is our children's sanctuary, which is right on the coast. It's on the coast proper of the beautiful state of Alabama. And finally, the presence of our naval ships in the Gulf of America, from which we are launching our satellites that are integral in harnessing space solar. And those thermal units are being designated as a metric. And we use them as a peg now for our US dollar, much in the way that we used to use gold. So, in many ways, the Gulf of America has become pure gold for America. And that's my memo to you, and I'll sign off on that tomorrow. It's getting awfully late here, Jason. It's about 2:30 in the morning. If you saw me right now, you wouldn't think I look like a president. I just took a late night walk in the woods. It's about 20 degrees up here. The cabin is, as you know, heated very well, but I must say there's a lot of dampness on the windowsills, and I'm expecting showers tonight, and hopefully that will contribute to my having a very blissful sleep, okay, for my busy schedule tomorrow. So God bless you. And I'm very excited about the future of the Gulf of America that all started back, when was it, 2025? Oh my goodness, how 5 years has passed. Okay, Jason, you get some rest too. This is the president signing off. Good night for now. Bye bye.